Ions are charged atoms or molecules. Let's take a look at sodium ions, Na+, as an example. A regular sodium atom has one valence electron. So one lonely electron is hanging out far from its nucleus. The electron, since it's hanging out way far away from the nucleus, tends to get lost, and the sodium atom becomes positively charged because it loses a negatively charged electron. A positively charged ion is called cation. So Na+, sodium ion, is an example of a cation. Elements on the right-hand side of the periodic table are more electronegative, meaning they tend to attract more electrons. So let's take a look at oxygen as an example. A regular oxygen atom is missing 2 electrons in the outer shell. So they tend to gain 2 electrons to become more stable. Now, the oxygen atom has become a negatively charged oxide ion. It has a negative 2 charge because it gained 2 negatively charged electrons. A negatively charged ion is called anion. So oxide O2- is an example of an anion. Please note that charges are written on top of the chemical symbols. These opposite charged ions will attract. Opposites attract. And that's how an ionic compound is made. Opposites attract. One of the rules is that ionic compounds must be neutral. So if you are combining Na+ and O2-, you need 2 of the sodium ions to make it neutral. The chemical formula for sodium oxide is therefore Na2O. Notice all of the charges are now gone. There's no plus or negative signs on top of the chemical symbols now. But notice that there is a subscript of 2 because you had to have 2 sodium ions to cancel out the negative 2 charge of the oxide ion. To name an ionic compound, you simply combine the names of the ions. Typically, cations have the same name as their elements. For example, sodium becomes sodium ions, magnesium becomes magnesium ions, and so on. However, anions, negatively charged ions, change their names a little bit. For example, oxygen becomes oxide. Chlorine becomes chloride. You don't need to memorize these names at this point, so you can use a chart like this for now. You can find it in your textbook or online on the class website, but you should become familiar with some common ions. They appear over and over from now on. Alright, one more thing. Sodium ion Na+ and oxygen ion oxide O2-, they are examples of charged atoms. But ions can be charged molecules too. For example, the molecule of OH can have a negative charge and become an anion called hydroxide, OH-. Another example is nitrate. It is NO3-. Pay close attention though. The number 3 is the subscript, so it means it has 3 oxygen atoms, But it's not that the ion has a negative 3 charge. The charge, which is on top of the chemical formula, says negative 1. So the nitrate ion has a negative 1 charge, not 3. These ions are called polyatomic ions because they are made of more than one atom. Poly means many. So they are like charged molecules, polyatomic ions. You have to treat these polyatomic ions as one unit. For example, the chemical formula of calcium nitrate, which is made of calcium ions, Ca2+, and nitrate, NO3-, is Ca parenthesis NO3 close parenthesis 2. To make the ionic compound neutral, you have to have 2 nitrate ions. When you need more than one polyatomic ions, you have to use parentheses. Remember, we treat these polyatomic ions as one unit. We will practice more on writing formulas for ionic compounds in the next few lessons.